Hello, and welcome back to Being Miraculous, a podcast by Shweta Shivraman. For those of you tuning in for the very first time, Being Miraculous is a podcast to inspire and live life to its fullest through my journey of self-discovery. Miraculous is the derivative of the Greek word miraki, which means to do an act with complete willingness, undivided attention, and wholehearted devotion. This podcast is a reminder of how we're not alone in this journey and on the simple things we can do to make this life a memorable and a beautiful experience. Hello everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode on the Being Miraculous podcast. I wish I was recording this in better times, but still here we are. I've just recovered from my own symptoms of COVID, and there's so much worry, anxiety, panic all around this situation, so I thought, why not talk fear in our episode today. With the rise of the second wave of COVID in India, there's a lot of fear at an individual level and at a collective level, and not to mention the other feelings of rage, anger, scarcity, and a lot of other negative emotions that seem to be taking control of us. There's that sound of the ambulance in the middle of the night in the background, validating the things that we are afraid of. Fear catches on easily, and the media realizes this too, which is why they love focusing on negative news. Fear sells. One of our primary fear of all humans is death. Losing the identity of being so attached to this physical body. The second, of course, is fear of losing loved ones. Our minds love to catch on to this fear and scarcity mindset because it's a survival tool, and COVID and this pandemic is just acknowledging the worst fears that our minds have, that we may not survive to live the tale. So, what can we do to manage these fears? 1. Try and distance yourself from these endless thoughts. Notice it when your imagination is getting the better of you, and stay in touch with your reality as much as possible. For most people tuning into this podcast right now, you're listening from the comforts of your home, not worried about where your next meal is coming from. Rather, your biggest concern probably is boredom from the continuous lockdowns. So, acknowledge and recognize the facts of your reality and do not succumb to your overactive imagination. 2. Establish a semblance of a routine for yourself so that the mind gets trained to expect certain things at a certain time. Routines give your mind a sense of control, and even if this control is illusory, it helps it keep it in check and prevent it from going all over the place. 3. Minimize your exposure to information. If you have a vivid imagination or are easily triggered by thoughts or pieces of information, minimize your exposure. This could mean watching the news less, deleting social media apps that trigger you, or unfollowing people who trigger your thoughts. Maybe even muting WhatsApp groups that are spreading this fear and panic. 4. Invest time in any form of faith you believe in. Faith is a great way to get humble, to remind ourselves that there are bigger forces at play than us, to bow down to that infinite source of wisdom. Whether it is through simple meditations or pranayama or breathing exercises that anchor you to that inner wisdom, or prayers or chants or whatever works for you. Anchoring yourself to any strongly held belief can help you lean in and take strength from that higher form or force too. And it can be a great antidote to fear. 5. If you're practical or logical or the list-making kind like me, actually sit down and make a list of things that are actually in your control. Washing hands, following social distancing norms, helping out elders in your building, talking to your parents daily and your grandparents, gathering resources for your community. Whatever it is within your circle of influence, list them out and make sure you're acting on it. At the same time, if possible, also try and realize that there's a lot beyond your circle of influence too. The lockdown situation, the availability of vaccines, the government at the helm in your state or the center. Try and let the things that are beyond your control go. You're unnecessarily blocking mind space with the things that are out of your hand. Know that there will always be things beyond your control. And lastly, reach out to your friends and family, ones you trust, and have open conversations. Fear can become a very big thing when we keep it in our heads. Letting it out, expressing it, or giving it a voice and having conversations around it can take its power away. Reach out, voice out your fears, and don't be afraid to ask for professional help also if you need it. These are tough times, and it's okay if you feel like you're unable to cope with it on your own. Fall back, be vulnerable, and connect. There's no harm. At Being Miraculous, I plan to host a 30-minute guided meditation session every Sunday at 4 p.m. for those who feel like they need to take a moment to gather some awareness together and let go of the anxiety. Join us if you think that can help you. Release your anxiety. Take care of yourself and be there for each other. And remember that this too is just a temporary phase, and like all things not being permanent, this phase will pass too. Let's hold our hands together and be there for each other and hope that this too shall pass sooner rather than later. In that time, let's not allow fear to get the better of us. Rather, let's hold the faith together and help each other survive this chaos.